You can't spell funerals without real fun.
So today we are going to have some real fun and talk about funerals.
Spoiler alert, they are a little, actually maybe a lot weird.
Yeah, they're very weird.
Welcome to Auspicious Autopsy, where we lovingly dissect culture, rituals, trends, and strange human behaviors. So funerals, everyone has them, and no one wants to think about them until they need them. You're the funeral director here, so why don't you talk about funerals? What are they?
Yeah, so I wanted to break this down to its simplest terms. They're observances held for a dead person, usually before burial or cremation.
Okay. And so when you say observances, you mean like people attending them, right?
Yes, it's a ritualistic observance of attending to a death.
Okay, I like that. And I also looked up, and it seems like funerals exist because it's like a public, like traditional and symbolic meaning of expressing our feelings, thoughts, and beliefs about the deceased individual. So it's like it's more about the living than it is about the dead, honestly. And funerals are actually found throughout human history. With a multitude of different rituals associated with saying goodbye to loved ones. And the ceremony itself is a means to acknowledge the reality of death and to start the process of grieving. So funerals help the living a lot more than the dead, and they help us say goodbye to the dead.
One of my favorite quotes is from Thomas Lynch's The Undertaking, where he says, "The dead don't care." And that is so true. And also I think about processing it's about processing the reality, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people can be in denial when their loved one dies. And this is just a way to provide a sense of closure and to set it up so that they can continue on their grief journey.
I like that a lot. So my real question is, why do people obsess about funerals so much? Like, you hear everyone being like, I want to be a funeral director. I mean, not everyone, but you hear a lot of people being like, I want to be a funeral director. And it's like, it's so not glamorous, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what it's actually like to do. It's a very stressful job. But I think that it's kind of the ultimate form of self-expression, funerals are. And I think that a lot of people choose to express themselves through the funerals of their loved ones. And it's not so much about the loved one, it's about their perception of the loved one. So I think that a lot of people are really into like horror movies and morbid stuff, and they think that they want to be funeral directors. And I think kind of often, not in all cases by any means, but kind of often, people will get into school or will get a job at a funeral home and decide it's not for them.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like in medical school, they not that I've been, but they shove a corpse in front of you as the first thing. Like, you do a dissection as your first thing. It's just like, whoa. But in funeral school or mortuary school, I mean, they don't really shove a body in your face until
your embalming practicum. And that's like, you're in deep at that point. So I think everyone who is considering joining mortuary school, attending mortuary school should get a job at a funeral home. In every case, that's only gonna help you.
Well, you've also had like every aspect of a funeral. Like, you've done everything. Like, you've picked up bodies, you've processed bodies, you've helped with everything, like the cosmetizing bodies. So it's just like, you know what it's like to see a dead body in that kind of sense. But like, someone fresh out of school is going to be like, I've never seen a dead body.
Yeah, well, I've suplexed dead bodies. Like, I've done everything to dead bodies. Yeah, no, but it's a really interesting field. I think once you see a certain amount of death, it stops becoming like you're desensitized to it. It's very accurate to say that you are desensitized to it. Because, you know, I guess my first dead body, I remember vividly going to an interview at an embalming facility, and it was my first dead body I ever saw, and it was in the corner of the room. We were in the embalming room, and I thought I was gonna faint. It was really, really jarring for me. But I had to keep my cool and like, you know, be like, oh, you know, carry on, right? And after that, I think that my first time touching a dead body might have been a little weird, but after that, it was fine.
Yeah, steady as you go, you know?
Yeah.
But because my experience seeing a dead body was an older woman who was partially skeletonized, and I saw her autopsy being done for the forensics pathology course I was doing, and it was actually like whoa, that's not what I expected to see.
That's really interesting. Yeah, decomp and mummification are really, really gross.
Yeah, there's also this the place I was at had a body that had a knife sewn into it. Like the person had killed them and then like put a knife in them and sewed it up.
That's morbid.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Like people are terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible people for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, why did we choose this today?
I think because I've been in the funeral industry for like 5 years now, it's something that I can speak on. And it's just like, it's really interesting, I think, to everybody. I've had so many people ask me at funerals, how do you like the job? What parts of the job do you enjoy doing? So I think everybody is at least a little curious about funerals, and it's kind of cloaked in mystery, it feels like. So it's fun to kind of take the lid off and to explain it to other people.
I like that. I like that a lot because it's like with my job being in forensics, it's just like everyone wants to know, oh, what's the weirdest case you've ever seen? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, everyone kind of has this like huge like misconception of what you do to the point where you're just like, well, that's not at all what I do. And then you kind of have to like explain them like, this is actually what I do.
Yeah, people think you're like Dexter.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, no, you're not like Dexter.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So what is the ritual purpose? Like what's like, to me, like the purpose of a ritual? What is it? Or of the rituals of a funeral, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's one of the only rituals that we have left as a culture. And I think the purpose of it is to assist, like we said, the living, processing the death of their loved ones. I also think that a lot of people feel like they have to have a big funeral for their mom or their dad or whoever because it would be the most honorable thing to do, which is not true. The dead don't care. But I feel like a lot of people feel obligated to have a funeral. I know when my dad died, we didn't want to have a funeral because there wasn't going to be a body. He had donated his body to science at UT Southwestern. And it was just something that my mom was kind of pressured into by his siblings. So, I mean, grieve the way you want, but don't feel like you have to put on a big spectacle. If that's what you want to do, that's great, but you don't have to feel like that's what you have to do.
That's awesome. And I think one of the things that I brought up was that rituals are so complex. And like they're as complex as all religions are, where like, the number of rituals there are is like the number of religions there are. Anyway, what I mean to say is that like things, you can have these like super complex burials that are like, you have to have certain blessings or certain prayers done on the body. That's all like really awesome to me. But one of the things that I came across while studying this or researching this, was sky burials. Have you heard of those?
Oh yeah, the Tibetan sky burials. Birds rip your body apart.
Well, yes, but it's like you're left out for the animals to consume you and you go back to nature kind of a thing.
Yeah. And also birds rip your body apart.
Well, of course they do because they're birds. Birds are terrible.
Birds are mean.
Birds are mean. But like I wanted to point out that the sky burial is like it is a little bit more simplistic than other burials, but I don't think it loses anything. I think it's actually more meaningful because it's just like you're giving your body back to nature the way it's supposed to be. And I think it has like a certain reverence for the dead that I think is like awesome. And I think that's just like kind of what all funerals are. It's just like this reverence for the dead.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about it being almost more meaningful and significant.
Yeah, I really like that whole give back to nature kind of thing because that's like what, I don't know, you watch like Lion King and you're like, the circle of life, and it's like, it's great. But you really have to like realize that you are part of the circle of life and you are giving back to the nature when you die. I don't know. It's just always cool to me.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was looking at the emotional functions of what a funeral is, and I think they're a bit self-evident in that, like it's clearly your like the final goodbye to a loved one, but I think there's a significant emotional tie to funerals. which I think is completely justifiable because it is the final goodbye. But I think it's just like I can't hear Amazing Grace without thinking of my aunt's funeral and like me crying my eyes out at my aunt's funeral, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like, I think there's just such an emotional tie to funerals that it's just like, it's really, I don't know. I think what I mean to say is it's a let it out point where everyone is just giving you permission to let it all out at the funeral, because that's really what it is to me.
Yeah, I think that's also why there's so much burnout in the industry, is because you're around profound sadness all of the time. And, you know, as much as I like to say, oh, it doesn't wear on me, it's fine, I'm fine. I think it does wear on me, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously it probably does.
And I think what I find so interesting is that grief isn't a single day event. You don't just grieve and then you're good. Like you can't power grieve and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have no more grief left in me, I'm good. You know, you can't do that.
I still grieve. Like, I've still grieved my dad, and it's been what, like 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, grieving doesn't come all at once. You can't just like get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I guess my real question is, what should change about the industry? Like, what's the problem? What's the haps right now?
It is exorbitantly expensive to bury someone.
Yeah.
I think on Reddit, I saw this woman's husband died, and they were trying to raise money for the funeral.
Yeah.
He wasn't a real husband. They weren't married. But it was effectively her husband. And the mother was the next of kin in Mexico. And so he had to be shipped out to Mexico, had to get a burial plot there, you know, all the services that come with that. And it was going to cost like $28,000. And I routinely see caskets that are $5,000, open closed grave, you know, is like $300, clergy's $500, renting space is a lot of money. So it's adds on and on and on. And embalming's expensive. Embalming's really expensive. So, and there's also a lot of predatory sales practices where the salespeople will do anything they can to get a sale.
Wow. My thinking on that is you would kind of hope that even people who couldn't afford it would be dignified, like they'd be given the dignity to bury their dead.
Yeah, good luck with a burial.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to go to a direct cremation place.
Which, like, if the person didn't want to be cremated, like, it's like, oh, too bad.
Very sad, right? It's super sad.
It just it feels so predatory. It kind of like, I hate to say it, it's kind of like a little bit like healthcare. Like,
oh
you
my
need
gosh,
it.
yeah.
Sorry, this is a little
oh man, you're gonna get me started on healthcare.
But it's just like it feels like it's such an important part of someone's life. I mean, it's the end of their life, but like for the living, it's so important that it's just like, why would you gatekeep that around cost? Like, that sucks.
I can't express enough how much of a markup there is on every single thing having to do with funerals.
That sucks. That sucks a lot.
It's big suck.
So, do you have any, like, I know I'm sure you have a million stories, but like, do you have any stories that like stand out to you from funerals?
Okay, so this kind of leads into something that I was meaning to talk about,
Oh, yeah.
Which is what happens after somebody dies. So the person dies, then, a hospital, coroner, house, all manner of places where you can find people. And then a removal team comes and picks them up. And then once the removal team has picked them up, and removal teams are often working for the funeral home, almost always working for the funeral home or the direct cremation facility or what have you. And then once they get there, back to the funeral home, if there's any preparations to be done, like embalming or, cosmetizing, dressing, that then gets done and they're dressed and casketed. Then you do a visitation where it's often at night, where there's a couple hours where you have an open casket and people pay their respects. And then you have the funeral service where you have like an hour-long religious or not religious service. And then you have interment, which is the last step, which is burial. But I was on the removal tech side, and I got sent to the medical examiner's office to pick up a lady that was like 360 pounds by myself. And I put her on, there are two types of cots that we use for removals. There's a regular cot and then a high boy cot. And the high boy cot, its head is kind of elevated. So I didn't know that at the time. So I put her on a high boy cot, which can't sustain that much weight. It's used for smaller people. And it took like 9 of us to get her on the cot into the van because the wheels wouldn't collapse because she was so heavy. And that was an experience. We also moved like an 800-pound guy. We got him in our van with the help of hospital staff and stuff like that. Also, something that was really interesting was we did a lot of Buddhist and Tibetan funerals, and it seems like in that religion, people like to put things that your loved one would need in the afterlife, like fishing poles or beer or snacks. And one time I got bug spray in the casket. And that's just kind of funny. Like, you're putting bug spray in a dead person's casket. But yeah, I have a ton of different stories.
Wow, that's awesome. And I don't know why this reminded me of a story, but when my grandpa I can't even talk. When my grandfather passed away, Grandpa Ed, we had a whole bunch of pictures of him on the side. We can talk about that a little bit. Yeah, in we were looking at all these pictures, and I looked at this one picture of him and a lady, and I was like, "That's not Grandma." And it was just like, we looked at it, we're like, "Yeah, that's not Grandma."
Was this at his funeral?
Yes, this was at his funeral.
Oh my gosh, and it wasn't Grandma. Oh no.
It was not Grandma. It was like from the 50s picture, and he looked really young. My sister and I just sat there looking at it like, that's not her.
What do? Do you just move on?
I don't know. It was just a wild thing to have that kind of come up. But anyway, sorry to derail from your cool stories.
No, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
I think another thing we have to talk about a little bit is the funerals we give for our pets.
Yeah, pet cremation has been on the rise for a few years now in the US, and I think that people now very much think that their pets are humans. I know we do, and we would want to get our dog cremated or our cat cremated. But that's been steadily on the rise, and a lot of families have like an at-home funeral.
Sorry, that's our cat.
She knows where they do, perform a eulogy, and everyone shares a memory, and then they inure the cat or the dog in the ground and bury it. I think that that's great because it can serve the same purpose as a regular funeral. A human funeral.
It's like as meaningful as a human funeral, basically.
Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, I think that's really great, and because I know you worked in pet.
Oh my gosh, that was the nightmare fuel. Oh my gosh, I think about it sometimes, and my brain's like, how did I cope with that?
Yeah, there are a few unsavory things you told me about.
I don't even want to get into it because like this is a podcast for the general public. But it was gruesome. It was high volume and a slaughterhouse. But
like, they're already dead.
No, I mean, it was... I can't talk about this.
So sorry for bringing that up.
It's okay.
Well, I also wanted to talk about, because I remember you bringing back so many stories of that. Like, you felt like you were helping people at the worst point in their life. And I remember one story you told me. Sorry, I'm telling a story for you. This one story you told me about this man that you left on Christmas Eve. You took his wife away. Sorry, I don't mean to bring this up.
No, it's okay. It's not bad.
It's you took away his wife on Christmas Eve, and he was just like devastated by the fact that his loved one, I mean, because a wife is like so important in your life. He was just like devastated by the fact that she was gone, and he's like, oh well, she couldn't have done it on
he said she just had to die on Christmas.
That's the one.
Christmas Eve. Yeah, and then there was this one that I remember distinctly where this lady's husband had just died. He was on hospice, and her son was a heroin addict. He wasn't present at the removal, but she felt like, I talked with her for like an hour because she felt like there was a lot of wisdom that she had that needed to be imparted. And she couldn't do it with her son because he was a heroin addict. So she left me kind of her spiel about how to live life, essentially. And I felt really honored to have stood in that position for her. Especially after her husband of, untold amount of years passed away. And we were really gentle with him. She appreciated, I do this thing where I cover their toes so they're not pressing against the cold cot. I cover them with the sheet that we use.
Aww.
And she just so appreciated that. And oh my gosh, it was snowing, and he was like, he was like a 6'5" black man. And he was big. And there was just me and a guy who was as tall as me who was a little portly.
Yeah.
And it was snowing and icing. Oh my god, it was terrible. But no, we managed, but it was a big honor to experience that.
There was also one story you told me. I think you know where I'm going with this one. Okay. Where someone's grandmother had passed away. And he could not look up from his desk.
He was watching Moist Critical. His grandmother had just died in the other room. And the parents even asked him, they're like, do you want to say goodbye to grandma? And he said no, because he was too busy watching Moist Critical. Oh my gosh, that was a crazy story.
Yeah, that's a one for the books, that's for sure.
I kind of miss working as a removal tech because you get all of the stories that way.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I'm just remembering all the ones you've told me, and it's just like, oh god. There's that one where the family had a pizza party, and they're like, "Do you want some?" And you're like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah. You can't eat on a removal.
Definitely can't. And you also you could not fail any lift.
You can't fail a lift. You absolutely have to lift. You cannot fail that lift. Like, even if you hurt yourself, it's better to hurt yourself and not fail the lift than it is to drop someone's loved one on the ground.
So, gym bros, get on that removal.
Yeah, and you can make some money. You can make some decent money doing it if you do it on a per body basis. You can contract out to a local funeral home, and yeah, it's a good money. And you get fit.
You get fit, get real big and nasty. But not nasty. Sorry, it's so silly.
So something interesting that I wanted to talk about, and we experienced this a lot at the direct cremation facility I worked with, was what happens when nobody claims a body.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens when nobody claims a body is they're usually at the medical examiner or county coroner. And they might get an autopsy. Not everyone gets an autopsy, which I think is something that people don't realize. Is if you were sick or you had died under normal circumstances, like your 98-year-old grandpa is not going to get an autopsy. There's just no point. But then they go to a cremation facility generally, and the cremation facility will hold the body for 30 to 60 days. Then they get cremated. And then they hold the remains for another 30 to 60 days. And we had tons of these in our cremation cabinet. And then we would do a burial at sea. I think other places do like a communal burial type of thing. I know burial at sea is probably the most common. But yeah, unclaimed bodies are really interesting because I remember finding stuff on them, like wallets and their, notebooks and stuff like that. And it was just so interesting to think about the life that this person lived, and now they're going unclaimed.
Wow. That's pretty fucking heavy shit right there.
How do you feel
about
an open versus a closed casket? What are your thoughts on that?
I just wanted, before we go into that.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up one funny story that you brought up to me, which was the fact that you'd sometimes just come in and there's a medical examiner just poking around your body.
Yeah. We would help them. We would climb the lifts and pull them out and get them on the lowering device and then lower them. But that brings to mind another funny story. One day I was really tired, and I might have been hungover. I don't know. But I was doing something, like I was getting a suture ready to suture someone's mouth closed, and they were on my side. And I wasn't facing them. And then I turned back around and I screamed because my brain just reset in that period of time, and I was not expecting to see a dead body right there. And I had been doing this for a while. So
that's so funny. So do you know, sorry, I'm keeping off track right now. Do you know,
oh, that's okay.
Is it different between suturing live things versus dead things? Is there a key difference?
Well, the dead don't move at all. And when they're in a freezer for a long time, they can get a little crusty. You can get a little crusty in the mouth area.
Because I was just thinking back to when I would suture rats and things, because I did a human anatomy course, and I was just like, suturing rats was like, you kind of just sewed them up and you're done.
Were they under?
Of course.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Just suturing fucking live rats. Yeah, side note, we used to put them in our pockets when we anesthetized them, and they would just sit there and fall asleep in your pocket, and so you just had people walking around with a pocket full of rat. They were such sweet babies, and I felt so horrible doing the things we did to them.
Yeah.
All for science. Not weird shit. That'd be weird, but no, science. So open casket versus closed casket.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
Originally I was thinking open casket, but I like the mystery of closed casket.
You like the mystery.
I like the what's in there.
Yeah, you like the mystique of a closed casket, of your closed casketed grandma. You like the mystery. You're a man of mystery and you like the mystery.
You know me a little too well. Yeah, no, I just like the mystery of it. Who knows what's in there? What if it's like a robot or something? I don't know.
Yeah, no, but I mean like for the general public.
Oh, so not my weirdness.
No,
I think the closed casket, it depends on how the person passed away. If it's like a gunshot wound, I don't need to be seeing that.
I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I think that open caskets kind of normalize death a little bit, and death is something that needs to be normalized because again, people don't think about it until they're at death's door. People don't like to think about their mortality. It makes them feel weird. I've never understood that. I've welcomed death quite a few times. I was like, wouldn't it be great if
Stop that.
But I think death needs to be normalized. I think as a culture, death is very sanitized, and I participate in that, but it shouldn't be that way.
Okay. So is that a problem with funerals, or is that a problem with just like our perception of death?
Jessica Mitford wrote a wonderful book called The American Way of Death, in which she dissected how the funeral industry came to be, because we had come out of, doing funerals at homes probably in the 30s, and then, we started this whole funeral business industry, and things became so different, and it was scathing against the industry. I mean, she was ruthless. So Jessica Mitford, rest in peace, did not have a high opinion of what we do. But she talked about how death had basically been sanitized, and there was no more contact. Like, we don't bathe our dead anymore. We don't anoint them with flowers or perfume or oil. We don't brush their hair. We aren't intimate with the dead like we used to be, and I think that does us a disservice in the grieving process.
I like that a lot, because being intimate with the dead. Sorry, that's horrible.
Necromancy.
I think it's something else, but
yeah, I don't want to say that word.
So I guess what it really comes down to is why funerals, why do they exist in your mind?
They exist in my mind as it's an expression of what you thought your loved one enjoyed during life. We've gone from the mourning and strictly prayers and clergy, except for the Catholics. They do a full mass. It's a whole thing. You're in for a long day. But we've gone from like, a more somber environment and vibe, and it's a lot more celebration of life, which I can't tell if I like or dislike, because I'm obsessed with like Victorian culture, death culture. But I don't know. I mean, people are now very, very celebratory.
Interesting, because I also kind of saw this a little bit, where funerals were done because it was meant to prevent disease from spreading, is one of the big reasons why funerals exist.
Yeah,
like burials existed, like why we put them in the ground so much. But I also think it's like evolved beyond that, because it's not like we kind of have a better understanding of how things work. Like science-wise. Mm-hmm. But I also think that, I don't think our funerals have really advanced much. Like I don't know. I guess in my mind, it's just like funerals have always been like, if you go to a funeral, you know what you're in for. It's not like ever a surprise. It's not like, whoa, that was a cool funeral,
I disagree with you. Like, there could be really cool funerals. They did a Star Wars funeral one time.
Oh.
And like people dressed up and everything. Like, there can be the jazz funerals in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, there can be cool funerals. And I think you can come away with one feeling like you just attended a party, but that is not the common. That is not what happens every day. It's very, very unique. that you would ever feel that way.
Really? That's like, because in my mind, it's always been, well, Nolans is going to be Nolans, you know?
Nolans be Nolansing.
But I don't know. I just like, what comedian said this? I don't want to steal a joke and not attribute it to the right comedian, but a comedian, I don't remember their name, but they said that they wanted to be like hanging out. They wanted their body to just be hanging out at a party for them.
Like Weekend at Bernie's style.
Exactly. But just like hanging out and like, where's the dead guy? It's like, he's right over there with the sunglasses on. He's pointing, you know? I don't know. That would like surprise me. It would be like, that's a good funeral.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little, I have odd likes.
I want a funeral to be a mystery.
That would be awesome. You know what? I want my funeral to be one of those like whodunit.
Oh, like a murder mystery? I love that idea.
Like I'm the dead guy. And you have to figure out who done it.
I love that idea. I love that idea a lot.
That would I would like host those. Like, oh, Grandpa's dead. Who done it?
Do you make a whole new business?
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. In my mind, it's kind of like escape rooms. It's just like, but now we're going a little step further.
Escape room funerals.
Like sands being poured in slowly.
Yeah, it's really jarring.
Okay, well, we've gone off the rails a little bit.
One last thing I'll say is that, this is fitting that I think it's towards the end, is that I can't express to you how tired of Amazing Grace I am, and like Psalm 23 and all the funeral songs. I am so sick of that. I'm so sick of them. Which I think something really important to do in this podcast would be to read Psalm 23. And this shows up in 99.9% of funerals. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me into paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I hear this on a daily basis. I'm telling you, daily basis.
I mean, for like something like that to me is beautiful, but like if I heard that every day, I'd be like, here we go.
I like Psalm 23. I almost have it memorized.
But see, that's the thing. I said make a funeral a little more eventful, and you're like, oh, but it happens. It's not every funeral's eventful. But like, if they're reading the same psalms and they're doing the same songs, that's not eventful.
And that's generally what happens. I'm going to be so honest.
Yeah. So like, my idea of an eventful funeral is what if it was like a circus and they're a tightrope walker and they just fall off and they get dropped into the ground that way?
So how do you stage a dead body on a tightrope?
You have it like, yeah. I don't know, glue the feet. I don't know.
Yeah, it's well, they can't even stand up.
This is a work in progress. I don't have all the answers right now.
I thought you had like a salient business model.
No, I'm the ideas guy.
I'm the ideas guy.
I'm not the practical, let's do this right guy. Oh, but corporate says we can't do that. I'm like, pin him to the stage. Anyway, you have any funny confessions you'd like to admit?
I will
on the podcast.
Plead the fifth on this one. On this particular episode.
You'll plead the fifth on this one? Yeah. A funny confession for me. When I was little, and I don't know if anyone remembers this. Hopefully not. But I don't know if I should say this now. Anyway, I'll say it. So when my grandpa Ed passed away, I was a little kid. And we were tossing dirt on his casket, and I fucking threw that dirt hard.
That's so funny. Like, we have throwing sand when we go to the beach where we find chunks of sand and just throw them on the ground and watch them scatter. Is that what you were doing?
Kind of, yeah. But, like, this was a funeral. This is horrible. I shouldn't say this. This is, like...
That's not terrible.
It's kind of bad.
No, it's not. You were just having...
I'm just a little kid. You cannot put dirt in front of a little kid and not expect him to throw it.
I guess my confession would be is that I've been obsessed with the morbid ever since I was a little kid. Like, really little. Except for my mom had a Grim Reaper statue from A Christmas Carol, and I was so afraid of that thing, I made her take it to the outside trash. It was not good enough that she threw it away inside. It had to be put in the bin by the curb.
Bin by the curb.
That's my confession.
Wow, that's not at all funeral related, but I'll take it.
Death.
You're right. No, you're right. I'll take it. I'll take it. So we have to give our final diagnosis, our cause of death, as they say. So cause of death. What's the cause of death for funeral industry?
Upselling.
You think that's bad? Oh, of course it's bad.
It's become so prevalent to where a dignified funeral is becoming inaccessible to the masses, which is like kind of really shitty because it's when a person is probably the most vulnerable, and to hit a paywall like that and feel like you didn't do enough to do right by your mom or whatever, like that's horrible.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
That is pretty bad. And then would you say it's still necessary?
Yeah, I think it's necessary for the grieving process, some sort of service or memorial. It doesn't have to be fancy at all, but I think it's necessary in all cases.
And then I guess I was kind of saying it's a little outdated. I think it'd be great to have like an adventure, whatever. I'm a visionary. Don't fucking come at me. But do you think it's like scam worthy, or do you like labeling it as a scam worthy?
At this point, kind of.
Okay.
Like a funeral costing $15,000 is pretty normal, and that shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking expensive. So, how dead do you think funerals are? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I think a 2.
You give it 2 scalpels?
Yeah, I give it 2 scalpels because people are still very much doing funerals.
Of course. I mean, you kind of have to. Like, legally, I think you have to. You can't just be like, oh, put them in the back, throw them in the trash,
You can kind of, like, if you got someone cremated, you could kind of do that. You could cremate someone and then throw their ashes away.
What if you made fireworks out of cremated people?
Oh, I'm sure you can do that.
It takes some skill, but you could.
I think that exists. We'll look it up later.
We'll look it up. Again, I'm a visionary. Don't at me. My God. Anyway, so for our next episode, we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm excited for that one because that's the one that you'll get to be able to speak on a lot.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. We're going to kind of cover how it came to be and what it is now, and kind of like see the progression through history, and it's going to be good. So if you have any suggestions about what you want us to talk about next time, or not next time, but next time, or next time. Anyway, whatever you want to say, comment below. Let us know. We're cool with you shouting things at us, and it'd be fun. And if you want to find us on YouTube, we're Auspicious Autopsy, and you can get us wherever you find your podcasts, and just look up Auspicious Autopsy. We're probably not under the same name as anyone else because this is a weird name.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's clever.
Anyway, you're great. This is our first episode. It's real fun, and we love you.
We love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.